The mining station floated in the dark space between stars. Its metal walls were old and rusty. The air smelled like oil and sweat. This place was far from the bright worlds where important aliens lived. This was where the galaxy sent those it did not want. Tejo wiped grease from his scaled hands. His thick green skin could stop most weapons, but it could not stop the pain of being unwanted. He was Kethvar, one of the lizard people. The galaxy called his kind primitive because they liked to fight with their hands instead of fancy laser guns. They said the Kethvar were too simple, too violent. But Tejo was not simple. He fixed machines better than most. He understood how things worked. He just preferred honest work with his hands over sitting in a chair pressing buttons all day. "The cooling system is broken again," said Boram in her slow, careful voice. She was made of living rock and crystal. Her people, the Zephyrians, thought very slowly compared to other aliens. While others made quick decisions, Boram needed time to process everything. The galaxy said this made her people stupid, but Tejo knew better. Boram never made mistakes. When she said something, it was always right. She could survive in places that would kill others. She could fix environmental problems that no one else understood. "I will help you," Tejo said. He grabbed his tools and followed Boram to the broken cooling unit. In the corner of the room, Haywan worked quietly. She looked like a giant insect with 4 arms and large, compound eyes. But she was not alone in her mind. Thousands of her people shared thoughts with her across space. The galaxy feared this. They said the Mothkai hive mind was dangerous and unnatural. Other species valued individual thinking. They could not understand how beautiful it was to share minds with family. They thought the Mothkai were trying to control others, but they only wanted to share knowledge and love. Haywan felt her sisters and brothers on distant worlds. Some were hungry. Some were afraid. All were lonely because the galaxy pushed them away. "The communication array is picking up something strange," Haywan said. Her voice was musical, like many people singing together. Tejo and Boram stopped working. "Strange signals usually meant trouble." "What kind of signal?" Boram asked slowly. "A distress call," Haywan replied. "But not from any species I know. The language is new." Tejo's eyes brightened. "New species?" "The signal is weak. Very far away, in the empty sector beyond the rim." Boram's crystal body glowed softly as she thought. "The empty sector is forbidden. The Galactic Union says nothing lives there." "Maybe the Union is wrong," Tejo said. "They have been wrong about many things." The 3 friends looked at each other. They all knew what it felt like to be dismissed and ignored. If there was a new species out there calling for help, the Union would probably ignore them too. "We should investigate," Haywan said. Her hive mind was buzzing with curiosity. "The Union will be angry," Boram warned. "The Union is already angry with us," Tejo replied. "What more can they do? Send us further away?" They made their decision quickly. The mining station had an old scout ship. It was not fast or pretty, but it could fly. Tejo knew how to fix it. Boram knew how to navigate through dangerous space. Haywan could communicate with anyone they found. As they prepared the ship, each of them thought about their people's history. The Kethvar had once been proud warriors who protected trade routes. But when energy weapons became popular, the galaxy said physical strength was useless. The Kethvar were pushed aside. The Zephyrians had built the galaxy's best environmental systems. Their slow, careful work kept whole planets alive. But when faster computers were invented, the galaxy said the Zephyrians were too slow. They were replaced by machines. The Mothkai had been the galaxy's greatest teachers and healers. Their shared minds could solve complex problems instantly, but other species became afraid of their mental connections. They said the Mothkai were trying to control them. Laws were passed to limit their contact with others. Now all 3 species lived on the edge of space, forgotten and unwanted. The scout ship launched quietly. Tejo had disabled the tracking system. The station's automatic systems would report them missing in a few days, but by then they would be too far away to stop. Space was beautiful out here. There were no shipping lanes or patrol ships, just stars and emptiness. Boram guided them through asteroid fields and past dead planets. Her people's knowledge of environmental hazards kept them safe. After 2 days of travel, they found the source of the signal. It was a small ship, much smaller than their scout vessel. The design was strange. It had smooth curves instead of the angular shapes most species preferred. It looked almost organic. "The signal is coming from there," Haywan confirmed. "Are they alive?" Tejo asked. Yes, I can sense their minds. They are afraid but still fighting. The alien ship was damaged. Its hull had several holes, and one engine was completely destroyed. Whatever happened to them had been violent. They are trying to repair their ship, Boram observed, but they do not have the right materials. Tejo made another quick decision. We help them, but we do not know them, Boram said slowly. They could be dangerous, so could we, Tejo replied. But we are here and they need help. That is enough. Haywan's compound eyes sparkled. My hive mind agrees. Helping others is always right. They moved their ship close to the damaged vessel. Tejo suited up and went outside to examine the damage. The alien ship's technology was different but not too advanced. He could fix it with the right materials. Boram analyzed the ship's life support systems. They breathe oxygen and nitrogen like many species. Their environment is stable. I am trying to contact them, Haywan said. Their minds are interesting. They think differently than anyone I have met. Through the damaged ship's windows, they could see the aliens inside. They had 2 arms and 2 legs like many species. Their skin was smooth and came in different colors. They had hair on their heads and small eyes. But there was something special about how they moved. They worked together naturally, without words or mental connections. When one alien struggled with a repair, another would help without being asked. They shared tools and ideas freely. They are not giving up, Tejo observed with admiration. Their ship is badly damaged, but they keep trying. That is the behavior of survivors, Boram said. Finally, Haywan made contact. The aliens' minds were unlike any she had touched before. They were fully individual, but they chose to work together. They had no hive mind, but they acted like family. The first message was simple. Thank you for coming. We need help. And so began the first contact between the outcast of the galaxy and a new species that would change everything. These aliens called themselves humans, and they came from a world called Earth. Do-hyun stared through the damaged window of his ship and could not believe what he saw. 3 different alien species had come to help them. After months of flying through empty space, receiving no answers to their calls, someone had finally responded. Captain, are you seeing this? Asked Min-soo, his chief engineer. She was pointing at the scanner readings. That ship out there has 3 completely different life forms aboard. Do-hyun nodded slowly. Earth had prepared them for many possibilities when they sent the exploration ship Soul's Dream into deep space. They had trained for hostile aliens, advanced civilizations, and even empty galaxies. But they had not prepared for this. Aliens helping other aliens who were helping humans. Jiwoo, what do you make of their biology? Do-hyun asked. The ship's biologist looked up from her instruments with excitement in her eyes. Captain, this is incredible. One of them appears to be reptilian with thick armored skin. Another seems to be silicon-based rather than carbon-based. The third has an insect-like structure but with clear intelligence. They are all completely different evolutionary paths. And they are working together, added Eun-ji, the communication specialist. I am picking up 3 distinct communication patterns, but they seem to understand each other perfectly. Do-hyun had been a ship captain for 15 years, but this was his first time in deep space. Earth had only recently developed faster-than-light travel. They were newcomers to the galaxy, and they knew it. The Soul's Dream was not a warship or a mighty exploration vessel. It was a converted cargo hauler with basic scientific equipment, but it was the best Earth could send, and Do-hyun was proud to captain it. Captain, Eun-ji said suddenly, I am receiving a direct mental communication. One of them is speaking directly into my mind. Do-hyun felt his heart race. Is it painful? Are you being attacked? No, sir. It feels gentle, like someone speaking softly. She says her name is Haywan and she wants to know if we need assistance. Tell her yes, Do-hyun said without hesitation. Tell her we are grateful for any help. Over the next few hours, the 3 aliens worked with the human crew to repair the Soul's Dream. It was like nothing any of them had ever experienced. Tejo, the reptilian alien, came aboard their ship wearing a simple work suit. He looked at their damaged engines with interest rather than contempt. Most of the galaxy would have seen human technology as primitive, but Tejo saw possibilities. Your design is very clever, he told Min-soo through a translation device. Simple but effective, easy to repair and modify. Min-soo had never received such a compliment from an alien before. Earth's technology was indeed simple compared to what they had seen in galactic databases. But Tejo seemed to appreciate that simplicity. We believe in making things that work rather than things that impress, Minsu replied. A wise philosophy, Teho said. My people understand this. We prefer honest work to fancy displays. Meanwhile, Boram, the silicon-based alien, was studying their life support systems with Jiwoo. Where others might have seen basic environmental controls, Boram saw careful efficiency. Your air recycling is very thorough, Boram said in her slow, careful voice. No waste. Everything is used completely. We had to learn to be efficient, Jiwoo explained. Earth's resources are limited, and space travel requires careful planning. Limited resources teach wisdom, Boram replied. My people know this truth, but the most amazing connection was between Yunji and Haiwan. The insect-like alien could speak directly into minds, something that should have been terrifying. Instead, Yunji found it beautiful. Your thoughts are so bright and individual, Haiwan said, her mental voice filled with wonder. Each human mind is like a star shining alone, but you choose to shine together. What do you mean? Yunji asked. My people share one great mind. We are never alone, but we are never truly individual either. You humans are completely individual, but you choose to work together anyway. That is remarkable. As the repairs continued, Do-hyun learned more about his rescuers. They were outcasts, species that the galactic civilization had deemed inferior and unwanted. The Kethvar were considered too primitive because they preferred physical strength to energy weapons. The Zephyrians were thought too slow because they processed information carefully rather than quickly. The Mothkai were feared because their hive mind was misunderstood. The galaxy has many rules about who is valuable and who is not, Teho explained to Do-hyun. We do not follow those rules. What rules? Do-hyun asked. Species are ranked by their technology, their psychic abilities, their speed of thought, Boram said slowly. Those who do not measure well are sent to the outer rim. That seems unfair, Do-hyun said. It is worse than unfair, Haiwan added through Yunji. It is wasteful. Each species has gifts, but the galaxy only values certain kinds of gifts. Do-hyun thought about this as his crew worked alongside the three aliens. He watched Minsu and Taiho solve engineering problems together, combining human adaptability with Kethvar strength. He saw Jiwoo and Boram discover new ways to improve environmental systems by mixing human innovation with Zephyrian wisdom. He witnessed Yunji and Haiwan create communication methods that neither species could achieve alone. What will you do now? Taiho asked when the repairs were nearly complete. We plan to make contact with the galactic government, Do-hyun said. Earth wants to join the galactic community. The three aliens exchanged looks that needed no translation. It was the look of people who had bad news to share. The Galactic Union will not be interested in humans, Boram said gently. Why not? Minsu asked. You have no psychic abilities, Haiwan explained. Your technology is basic by their standards. You would be classified as a primitive species and sent to join us on the rim. Do-hyun felt a cold anger growing in his chest. Because we do not meet their standards? Because you do not fit their narrow definition of advancement, Teho said. Just like us. But you three are not primitive, Jiwoo protested. You are intelligent, skilled, and kind. Anyone who cannot see that is blind. The galaxy has been blind for a long time, Haiwan said sadly. Do-hyun made a decision that would change the course of galactic history. Then perhaps it is time for new eyes to look at things. What do you mean? Boram asked. I mean that Earth will not beg to join a community that judges worth by narrow standards. Instead, we would like to form a new community, with friends who value each other for who they are, not what they lack. The three aliens stared at him. No one had ever suggested such a thing before. You would ally with outcasts? Teho asked. We would ally with friends, Do-hyun corrected. And you three are the first real friends humanity has made among the stars. Minsu grinned and nodded. The captain is right. You helped us when we needed it. You treated us with respect. You saw value in our simple technology and individual cooperation. That makes you better friends than any government that would judge us before knowing us. My hive mind is very excited by this idea, Haiwan said, her mental voice warm with emotion. We have been alone for so long. None of us have to be alone anymore, Do-hyun said. If you are willing, Earth would like to propose a new kind of alliance, not based on who is superior or inferior, but on mutual respect and friendship. Boram's crystal body glowed brighter as she considered this. Such an alliance would anger the Galactic Union. Then they will learn what happens when they make enemies of friends, Do-hyun replied. As the Soul's Dream prepared to depart with its new allies, none of them knew they were about to face a threat that would test every assumption the galaxy had about strength, intelligence, and survival. But they did know one thing for certain: they were no longer alone in the vast darkness of space. They had found friends among the stars, and that made all the difference. The alarm sirens wailed across the Union's central command as reports flooded in from the outer territories. Admiral Velkasan stared at the tactical display with growing horror. Red markers showed attack sites spreading across the galaxy's edge like a disease. "How many worlds have we lost?" he asked his aide. 17 confirmed destroyed, sir. 8 more under attack." The assault began simultaneously across a front spanning thousands of light years. Velkasan had commanded Union fleets for 40 years, but he had never seen anything like this. The attackers were not organic beings, but massive mechanical constructs that seemed to appear from nowhere. They struck with overwhelming force and left nothing behind but silent, lifeless worlds. "What do we know about these devourers?" "Very little, sir. They absorb all energy weapon attacks. Our psychic assaults have no effect on mechanical minds. They seem to be studying our tactics and adapting to them in real time." Across the galaxy, in the Coalition's headquarters, Kyung-ho was dealing with his own crisis, but his problems were different from the Union's. "Admiral, we have 17 refugee fleets heading for Coalition space," reported his aide Won-sik. "Union worlds are evacuating and they are asking us for sanctuary." "Granted," Kyung-ho said immediately. "All of them. Sir, some of these are Union member species that refused to acknowledge us just months ago. They are people in danger," Kyung-ho replied. "Politics can wait until everyone is safe." Subin, now the Coalition's defense coordinator, looked up from her battle reports. "Our forces are having better luck against these devourers, but I am not sure why. Their technology is far superior to ours, but our mixed fleets are achieving actual victories." So Young, one of humanity's best pilots, had just returned from a successful rescue mission. Her squadron had saved a Union world that their own fleets had been forced to abandon. "The machines fight like the Union thinks," So Young explained to the gathered commanders. "They expect predictable tactics from superior forces attacking inferior ones. But our fleets do not work that way." Tae-ho, now commanding a mixed Kethvar human battle group, nodded agreement. "The Devourers adapt to energy weapons and psychic attacks because those are the Union's primary strengths. But when my warriors board their ships with simple plasma cutters and crowbars, the machines do not know how to respond." Boram, who had been studying the Devourer technology, spoke slowly from her research station. "Their adaptations are very fast but very narrow. They learn to counter specific threats but cannot understand tactics that combine multiple approaches." Haewon's collective voice carried excitement. "My hive mind has been analyzing their behavior patterns. The Devourers expect hierarchical command structures. When they destroy a fleet's command ship, they expect the rest to become disorganized. But Coalition fleets have no single command structure. Each ship captain makes their own decisions based on the situation," Kyung-ho agreed. "The Devourers cannot predict what we will do, because we ourselves do not know until the moment comes." The revelation came during the massive battle at Kepler Junction, a crucial hyperspace intersection that connected 3 major trade routes. The Union had assembled their largest fleet ever to defend it. The Coalition sent everything they could spare to help. So Young was flying point for a mixed squadron when her scanners detected something unusual. "Command, I am reading massive energy signatures from the Devourer mothership. But they are not weapon signatures. What are they?" Kyung-ho asked from the Coalition flagship. "Data transmission, sir. Huge amounts of data flowing between the machines." Haewon's voice suddenly filled the communication channel, filled with horror and understanding. "They are not just communicating. They are accessing archived files, ancient databases from a civilization that died long ago." On the Union flagship, Velkasan was listening to the same reports. "What kind of databases?" Boram's slow voice carried certainty. "Species classification systems, evolutionary analysis programs, survival worthiness evaluations." The truth hit everyone at the same time. The Devourers were not random destroyers. They were following a program created by an ancient civilization to eliminate inferior species and preserve only the worthy. The extinct species that built them had the same philosophy as the Union, Subin said grimly. They ranked species by technological advancement and psychic ability. The Devourers are completing their creator's work. So Young dove her fighter through a swarm of Devourer drones, her mind racing. That is why they focus on Union worlds. The machines recognize Union technology and tactics because they are similar to their creators. And why they struggle against us. Tejo added as his boarding party fought through a Devourer ship's corridors. We use approaches their creators never considered. Cooperation instead of domination. Diversity instead of conformity. The battle at Kepler Junction became a turning point not because the Coalition won, but because of what So Young discovered in the Devourer mothership's memory core. Flying a captured Devourer scout ship, she had managed to access their central database. What she found changed everything. "Admiral, you need to see this," she transmitted to both Kyung-ho and Velkasan. "The Devourers have detailed files on every species in the galaxy. But they are not just random intelligence. They are target prioritization lists." The data was terrifying in its clarity. The machines had ranked every known species by their evolutionary fitness, using criteria that were almost identical to the Union's hierarchy system. High-technology species were marked for preservation. Psychically gifted races were classified as valuable. Physical strength and environmental adaptation were considered primitive traits. The Union's top-ranked species are marked for absorption into the Devourer collective. So Young continued. They plan to preserve your knowledge and abilities while eliminating your independence. And the rest? Velkasan asked, though he dreaded the answer. Complete extinction. Every species ranked below the top tier is marked for immediate elimination. Haywan's collective voice was filled with sadness. The Kethvar, Zephyrians, and Mothkai are all on the elimination list. As are humans. And every species that has joined the coalition, Subin added. The machines see our alliance as a collection of evolutionary failures. But there was more. The database contained records of previous galactic extinctions. The Devourers had done this before, again and again across cosmic time. They would eliminate the unfit, preserve the superior species just long enough to extract their knowledge, and then move on to the next galaxy. They are not conquerors, Boram realized. They are harvesters. They consume entire galactic civilizations and move on. Wonho, the Coalition's head engineer, was studying the technical specifications with growing excitement. But look at their programming limitations. They cannot understand cooperation between different evolutionary paths. Their algorithms cannot process the concept of voluntary diversity. What does that mean? Kyung-ho asked. It means their own rigid thinking is their weakness, Wonho explained. They expect each species to follow predictable patterns based on their evolutionary classification. When species work together in ways that do not match those patterns, the Devourers cannot adapt properly. So Young's voice crackled over the communication system as she fought her way out of the mothership. I am uploading everything I found. But Admiral, there is something else. The machines are preparing for a final assault on the galactic core. They plan to eliminate all remaining resistance in one massive attack. As the Coalition and Union fleets retreated from Kepler Junction, both sides knew the galaxy had changed forever. The Union's hierarchical system was not just unfair, it was exactly what an ancient genocidal program was designed to exploit. The Coalition's approach of valuing diversity and cooperation was not just morally superior, it might be the only thing that could save all life in the galaxy. But first, they would have to convince the Union to abandon everything they believed about species superiority. And they would have to do it before the Devourers reached the galactic core and finished what their creators had started billions of years ago. The next few weeks would determine whether the galaxy's countless species would survive as free beings or become extinct memories in a machine collective's database. Chang-min adjusted his formal diplomatic uniform and looked out at the massive space station floating before them. The Galactic Union's central hub was the size of a small moon, covered in gleaming towers and busy with ships from hundreds of different worlds. It was meant to impress visitors with the Union's power and prosperity, but Chang-min was not impressed. He was Earth's first ambassador to the galaxy, and he had come here with a message that would shake the Union's foundations. Ambassador, are you ready? Asked his aide Subin, who was also Earth's leading military strategist. As ready as anyone can be to tell the galaxy's most powerful government that they are wrong about everything, Chang-min replied with a slight smile. Behind them, in the ambassador's ship, were representatives from their new allies. Teho spoke for the Kethavar resistance. Boram represented the scattered Zephyrian colonies. Haywan connected to the Mothkai collective across dozens of worlds. Together they had spent months planning this moment. The Union's reception was exactly what they had expected, cold, formal, and dismissive. The Council of Supremacy met in a grand chamber designed to make visitors feel small. Hundreds of delegates from the galaxy's most advanced species sat in curved rows, looking down at the newcomers. At the center sat the Council's two most powerful members. Feltarion of the psychically gifted Velthari species could read minds and move objects with thought alone. Kixnara of the technologically superior Kixnari could interface directly with computers and control vast networks of machines. So, Veltarion said, his mental voice echoing in everyone's mind, the primitive humans have finally arrived to request membership in civilized society. Changmin stood calmly. Actually, we have come to decline membership. A wave of surprised mental chatter swept through the chamber. No species had ever refused to join the Union. Decline? Kixanara's electronic voice buzzed with confusion. You cannot decline what has not been offered. Then let me be clear, Changmin said, his voice carrying clearly through the vast chamber. Earth has no interest in joining an organization that judges species by narrow standards of worth. We have come to announce the formation of the Outer Rim Coalition. Coalition? Veltarion's mental voice was sharp with anger. What coalition? An alliance of species that the Union has wrongly dismissed as inferior, Changmin replied. The Kethvar, whose strength and honor you call primitive. The Zephyrians, whose careful wisdom you call slowness. The Mothkai, whose beautiful collective consciousness you call dangerous. And humanity, whose adaptability and cooperation you would surely call inadequate. Teho stepped forward. The Kethvar people are proud to stand with Earth. Boram spoke slowly but clearly. The Zephyrian colonies choose friendship over judgment. Haywan's melodious voice filled the chamber. The Mothkai collective joins this new alliance with joy. The council chamber erupted in angry voices and mental noise. Some delegates laughed. Others shouted insults. A few looked worried. This is absurd, Veltarion declared. You are forming an alliance of rejects and failures. We are forming an alliance of friends, Changmin corrected. And we have already accomplished more together than your union has achieved with many of its member species. Subin activated a holographic display that filled the center of the chamber. It showed detailed plans for new technologies and systems that had never been seen before. Human adaptability combined with Kethvar. Engineering has created defensive systems that can stop weapons twice as powerful as anything in the Union. Fleet, Subin explained. Human innovation merged with Zephyrian. Environmental knowledge has developed terraforming techniques that can make dead worlds livable in half the time of current methods. The display changed to show complex computational systems. Human creativity linked with Mothkai collective processing has solved mathematical problems that have puzzled the galaxy's greatest minds for centuries. These advances are impossible, Kixnara stated flatly. Our analysis shows that none of these species possess the necessary capabilities. Your analysis is based on measuring each species separately, Changmin replied. You never considered what they might accomplish working together as equals. Kyung-ho, who commanded the coalition's growing defense forces, stepped forward. The Union teaches that some species are naturally superior to others. We have learned that every species has unique strengths. When those strengths are combined with respect and friendship, amazing things become possible. He gestured to his mixed crew, which included humans, Kethavar, Zephyrians, and Mothkai working together seamlessly. These are not my subordinates following orders. They are my partners contributing their best abilities to our shared goals. The council was clearly disturbed by what they were seeing. The rigid hierarchy that kept the Union stable depended on the idea that some species were naturally better than others. The coalition was proving that cooperation between equals could be more effective than submission to superiors. Even if these claims were true, Veltarion said, you are still just 4 species on the galaxy's edge. You pose no threat to the established order. Changmin smiled. We are not trying to threaten anyone. We are offering an alternative. Any species that is tired of being ranked and judged is welcome to join us. Any world that wants to be valued for its unique contributions rather than measured against arbitrary standards can find a home with the coalition. You are naive, Chixnara said. Order requires hierarchy. Without clear rankings, there is only chaos. Without respect for diversity, there is only stagnation, Boram replied. The Union has become so focused on maintaining its rankings that it has stopped growing. Haywan's voice carried sadness. My collective has watched the galaxy for many cycles. We have seen civilizations rise and fall. The greatest always fell when they stopped learning from others and started believing they had nothing left to learn. The session ended with no agreement, but Changmin had not expected one. The real audience was not the council, but the thousands of species watching the broadcast across the galaxy. Many were Union members who had never reached the top ranks. Others were non-members who had been rejected or ignored. Within days, messages began arriving at Coalition headquarters. A mining species that had been enslaved by the Union wanted to join. A peaceful agricultural world that had been dismissed as non-strategic asked for alliance. Even some Union member species began asking quiet questions about the Coalition's policies. The response was faster and larger than anyone had expected. It seemed that many species had been waiting for someone to offer an alternative to the Union's rigid system. But not everyone was pleased with these developments. In the highest levels of the Union government, emergency meetings were being held. Some leaders wanted to crush the Coalition before it could grow stronger. Others argued for patience, believing the alliance would collapse on its own. What none of them knew was that a much greater threat was approaching from the dark space between galaxies. Ancient machines that had destroyed civilizations before were awakening from their long sleep. They had detected the radio signals and faster-than-light communications that indicated another galaxy had developed intelligent life. The Devourers were coming, and they had very specific ideas about which species deserved to survive. Their programming was simple: eliminate the weak and preserve only the strong. They would have found much to approve of in the Union's hierarchical system, but they would be very confused by the Coalition's approach to diversity and cooperation. That confusion would become their greatest weakness, though no one knew it yet. For now, Changmin stood on the observation deck of the Coalition's first major station, built jointly by all 4 member species. Ships from dozens of worlds were arriving daily, bringing new allies and new possibilities. Do you think we did the right thing? Subin asked. I think we did the only thing we could do and still call ourselves human, Changmin replied. We saw friends who needed help and we chose to help them. Everything else is just politics. In the distance, a Kethavar patrol ship flew alongside a Zephyrian research vessel, both escorting a group of Mothkai colony ships to their new home. Working together, they were becoming something greater than any of them could be alone. The galaxy was about to discover just how powerful friendship could be. Jamin stood in the emergency session chamber as delegates from across the galaxy argued and shouted. The Great Union Assembly Hall had never seen such chaos. Some species demanded immediate surrender to the Devourers. Others called for evacuation to distant galaxies. A few still insisted their superior technology could somehow defeat the machines. But the evidence was overwhelming. Every Union fleet that fought the Devourers using traditional tactics had been destroyed or absorbed. Only the Coalition's mixed forces achieved consistent victories, and even they were losing ground as more Devourer ships arrived from deep space. The machines will reach the galactic core in 18 days, Jamin announced, his voice cutting through the noise. After that, nowhere in the galaxy will be safe. Veltarion, the Psychic Council leader, glared at him with mental force that would have crushed a weaker mind. This disaster began when your coalition challenged the natural order. The Devourers are responding to the chaos you created. The Devourers are responding to the same rigid thinking that created your union, Jamin replied calmly. They were built by a species that shared your beliefs about superiority and inferiority. They are trying to finish what their creators started. Kixanara's electronic voice buzzed with anger. Even if that were true, it changes nothing. The machines are too powerful. Our only option is to preserve what we can and rebuild elsewhere. There is another option, said a new voice from the chamber entrance. Everyone turned to see Changmin, Earth's former ambassador, walking in with representatives from every coalition species. Behind them came something unprecedented. Delegates from dozens of Union member species who had secretly been communicating with the coalition. The option is to do what should have been done long ago, Changmin continued. Unite as equals instead of hiding behind artificial hierarchies. Impossible, Veltarian declared. Natural law demands that superior species lead inferior ones. Without proper order, there is only chaos. Tejo stepped forward, his scarred armor showing recent battle damage. We have been fighting the machines for months now. Not as superiors commanding inferiors, but as partners contributing our unique strengths. It works, Boram spoke slowly but with absolute certainty. The Devourers cannot predict or counter truly cooperative tactics because their creators never developed such tactics. Cooperation requires seeing others as equals, not tools. Haywan's musical voice filled the chamber as her collective consciousness touched every mind present. The machines have detailed files on how every species should behave according to their evolutionary classification. But they have no files on how species behave when they choose to work together as friends. The chamber fell silent as delegates felt the truth of her words. The Mothkai hive mind had touched the Devourer databases and seen the rigid categorizations that doomed any species, fitting predictable patterns. Even if cooperation could work tactically, Kixnara said, it cannot work strategically. Different species have different needs, different goals. Without hierarchy to resolve conflicts, the alliance would collapse. It has not collapsed yet, Kyung-ho pointed out. The coalition has grown from 4 species to over 40 in less than a year. We have survived internal disputes, resource conflicts, and territorial disagreements. Not because someone forced solutions, but because everyone chose to find solutions. Subin activated a holographic display showing coalition organizational structures. We do not have one leader making all decisions. We have councils where every species has a voice. We do not have rigid ranks based on arbitrary measurements. We have flexible roles based on actual abilities and current needs. The human pilot. So Young commands mixed squadrons not because humans are superior pilots, but because she has proven herself effective in battle, Tejo explained. The Zephyrian engineer Boram leads environmental projects not because Zephyrians outrank others, but because her people understand how life systems work. Wonho, who had been quietly studying Devourer technology for months, spoke up. I have found their greatest weakness. The machines cannot process the concept of voluntary sacrifice for others' benefit. Their programming assumes all beings act primarily for self-preservation or species advancement. What does that mean for fighting them? Asked a Union delegate. It means they cannot predict or counter tactics that require some individuals to take risks for the benefit of the whole group, Wonho explained. Not because they are ordered to, but because they choose to. The final proof came when In-woo, Earth's military coordinator, shared intelligence from recent battles. Coalition fleets have been outperforming Union fleets not because of superior firepower or technology, but because our crews make tactical decisions that the machines cannot anticipate. When a Kethvar boarding party sees their ship about to be destroyed, they do not retreat to save themselves. They push deeper into the enemy vessel to give their allies more time. When a human pilot's fighter is damaged, they do not flee to preserve their life. They use their damaged ship as a distraction to help others escape. When Zephyrian commanders see a chance to save another species' world, they do not calculate the strategic value first. They commit their forces because it is the right thing to do. When Mothkai collectives detect enemy infiltration of their networks, they do not disconnect to protect themselves. They maintain contact to warn their allies, even at the cost of their own safety. Haywan's voice carried the weight of her entire species. The Devourers cannot understand why beings would risk themselves for others not of their own kind. Their creators saw such behavior as evolutionary weakness. We see it as our greatest strength. The debate might have continued for days, but the Devourers made the decision for them. Long-range sensors detected the enemy's final assault wave approaching the galactic core. Thousands of machine ships, each the size of a moon, were moving to eliminate all remaining resistance. 18 hours, announced the tactical officer. That is all the time we have left. The choice was simple: unite as equals or die as rivals. It took 6 hours of desperate negotiation, but the Galactic Coalition was born. Not as conquerors absorbing defeated enemies, but as allies choosing cooperation over conflict. The Union dissolved itself voluntarily, with its member species joining the new alliance as equals rather than ranked subordinates. The final battle took place in the space around the galaxy's central core, where ancient stars had witnessed the birth of countless civilizations. Coalition fleets from every corner of the galaxy converged to face the Devourer armada. But this was not the organized, predictable battle the machines expected. Coalition tactics were chaos to any outside observer. Kethvar boarding parties teleporting randomly between enemy ships, Zephyrian engineers using environmental hazards as weapons, Moth-Kai collectives coordinating impossible maneuvers through shared consciousness, human pilots flying suicide runs that somehow succeeded through pure unpredictability. Wonho's masterstroke came when he realized the Devourer's central weakness. Working with engineers from 17 different species, he created a weapon that was not really a weapon at all. "It is a randomness generator," he explained to the fleet commanders as they prepared for the final assault. "Not random destruction, but random cooperation. Every time the machines try to analyze our behavior patterns, the weapon changes how our different species work together. The Devourers cannot adapt to something that has no fixed pattern to adapt to," Boram added. "We become unpredictable not through chaos, but through infinite varieties of cooperation." So Young led the final assault on the Devourer mothership. Her squadron composed of volunteers from 12 different species. Their attack pattern was impossible. Each pilot acted according to their species' instincts while somehow coordinating perfectly with pilots whose instincts were completely different. The machine's central AI, faced with behavior it could not categorize or predict, did something its creators had never programmed it to do. It paused. In that moment of confusion, coalition forces struck the final blow. When the battle ended and the Devourer threat was eliminated, the galaxy had been transformed. The old system of ranked species and rigid hierarchies was gone forever. In its place was something unprecedented, a truly cooperative galactic civilization, Inwu, elected as the coalition's first president by representatives of over 300 species, stood before the assembled delegates in a chamber built specifically to accommodate the needs of every member species. "We learned something important in these past months," he said. "Strength does not come from being superior to others. It comes from the courage to call different people friends and mean it. The Devourers failed not because they lacked superior technology or overwhelming numbers. They failed because they could not understand the one thing that makes any civilization worth preserving: the choice to value others, not for what they can do for you, but for who they are. Today we begin something new, not a galaxy ruled by the strongest or the smartest or the most advanced, a galaxy where every species, every world, every individual has value simply by existing and choosing to be part of something greater than themselves." As the delegates returned to their worlds to begin building this new civilization, the former outcasts found themselves at the center of galactic society.